Hello everyone, my name is Hisham. I'm the owner of Clemson Aeronautics, where we make the riveting and dimpling tools. Today's video is about building the machine cart, which is really important to get your work done properly and easily. And when you're done, you can stow the machine away, it kind of disappears. So if you, like most people who are building their airplane in a 2-car garage or a 3-car garage, you need that. So this is the first cart that I made, and the frame here is made out of 2x6s. There's 2 of them, one on each side, and the rest is plywood. Advantages: you get a part right here that you can make into storage area where you can put all your pneumatic tools, yokes and so forth, and maybe dimple dies if you want to put your air hose here or whatever it is, tools that you need to stow, you can have that. The disadvantage in this design, I made it a little bit long from the back to put an adjustable height wheel. You don't need to do that, so you can shorten that all the way up to here. But the front is actually very good. The wheel is right on top of the front end of the machine, because when you pull the machine, if the wheel runs into something, it will tend to fall forward. The whole cart will tip, and that's kind of like what I had on my first cart that you've seen in the videos. The new design is a lot different than this, and I'm only using 2x4s. I'm not using 2x6s anymore. It's just 2x4s and plywood. It is shorter from the back, where the wheel comes right at the end of the machine, and the front wheels will be right at the beginning of the machine. This is pretty much the material that I'm using to build the new cart. It's a hinge that I got from Tractor Supply. It's a fairly large hinge for a door or a gate or something, and I can tell you right now, it is this part is 10 inches long, and it is 7 inches wide right here. It costs $19.90 something, like a little under $20, and it's very sturdy, very firm. It worked good on this cart right here, and I'm sure it will work very well on the new cart as well. Then after Tractor Supply, I went to Lowe's and got a sheet of plywood. The plywood was just a little over ½ an inch thick, and the sheet is 4x8, so I had made 2 cuts in it, 15.5 inches wide with the length of the sheet, so it gave me 2 boards 15.5 inches wide, and one that was bigger than that, and I set it aside for other projects. Then from the 2 boards that's 15.5 inches wide, I cut 2 pieces that 25.25 would be the perfect measurement. I actually cut this one a little under that, but I'm gonna have to deal with that while I'm assembling the machine. And those 2 pieces right here are glued together, and that will be the back of the machine where the hinge mount right here. So I glued them yesterday and I let it dry overnight. It is very, very, very strong. So that is 15.5 by 25.25. That's the first sheet, or 2 sheets together, in other words. Then there's one sheet that is 26 inches long and also 15.5. Then there is 2 sheets that is 27.5 by 15.5, 2 of them. As far as the 2x4s are concerned, I have 2 pieces that are 12.5 inches long, 4 pieces that are 26 inches long, and 2 pieces that is 28.5 inches long. These came out to 28 3/8, but I think it worked just fine. Next step is to take the 28.5 inch piece, and what we're going to do is we're going to mark 4.5 inches from one end and draw a line, 1.5 inches and draw a line. Then I drew a line on top in the middle of it and went in the back and I drew another line. This is the holes where I'm going to be fastening this piece to this piece. Now I want this piece to be up here. So what I've done is I put it down here and marked it, this one right on the line, and put my 12.5 inch piece in place, but in the bottom, and I put the other 26 inch piece here, and I drew a line this way, then I drew a line on the back. So I'm going to pre-drill 3 holes here with my screwdriver. I have a small drill bit, so I can pre-drill this before I fasten it together. And by the way, I'm gonna try and glue everything together to make the cart really solid. Now that I marked the first piece, I'm just going to use a right angle for the second piece. I line them up perfectly together and put my right angle in here, and I'll just draw the line. And here I will draw the other line. And I'll make the middle line mark right here, middle mark right here, and now actually it's just a good idea to go like this and mark the back. This is where I'm gonna be drilling it from. I'm gonna go ahead and pre-drill all 12 holes right now, all the way through. So I pre-drilled all of these holes. I'm gonna go ahead and countersink this so the screw head would go in flush. I have one of those countersink things, so I'm just gonna go ahead, while I'm making a mess, go ahead and make that. This is it as far as this is concerned. I'm going to go ahead and clean up. I'll be right back. And folks, I'm using this kind of screw that uses kind of a star-shaped tool to fasten. Is for framing, and it works pretty well for this project. I'm going to go ahead and put glue on that 26 inch 2x4 and wipe it down with a little piece of wood right here. Just spread it around pretty good. Then I will place it here, right on the line. And I'm gonna go ahead and clamp it down with this to stay in place fairly well. It needs to be 90 degrees, and that is not 90 degrees, so I'm gonna have to release this clamp a little bit and make sure it's 90 degrees and also on the line. It needs to go this way a little bit. And that is 90 degrees. So I'm going to go ahead and drive these 3 screws in. It is 90 degrees now, so I'm going to go ahead and drive those 3 screws into place. So next step is to take my 12.5 inches long piece, and this piece eventually is going to wind up over here, but I'm using it for spacing, so I'm going to mark that. I'm gonna do like a 90 degree, it works well. I might just go ahead and use another clamp while I'm at it, because I'm such a bad carpenter. I could use all the help I can get. Now this looks pretty much square. So I'm going to go ahead and get my 12-inch piece out of there, just to make sure it is correct. So I'm going to get me 3 more screws. And drive them right here. That worked out well. Now I need to get that 12-inch piece or 12.5-inch piece prepared so I can screw it on top. And folks, I used this tool that kind of countersinks the holes, so my screw would be below flush, because I'm going to need that while I'm fastening the plywood to the rails here. So I'm going to put glue on both ends of this particular 2x4 now, and spread it one at a time. I'm going to fasten it now with a couple of screws each side. So now we have both rails are completed now. So we have to work on the plywood and make sure that this is 90 degrees. Now we made the two sides and we have to fasten the plywood from the inside. And just remember, there is a front and there is a back. This is the front, you got one from the inside. This is the front, you got one from the inside this way. So we're gonna have to do it one at a time, and we're gonna also use glue. I checked this angle with the 90 degree and made sure it is as close as possible. Now I'm going to try and leave this in place the way it is, and I'm gonna carefully remove this one and put glue all the way around, then start to fasten it to this rail. The framing, I used this type of screw, and it is 2.5 inches long. But to screw the plywood to the railing, I'm using a different one, different size, which is 1 3/4 inches. I'm gonna use the little drill with the countersink to pre-drill those holes first before I fasten it. Now I'm going to go ahead and fasten all the screws. I drove a couple of screws in there, and I'm going to continue with the rest. So this is one. The second one is identical, except the plywood is from the inside, so you have to remember that. Now it's time to glue the back to the frame. And if you recall, I said it was, this dimension is a little less than 25 1/4, and I found this little paint stick would do the trick to make it exactly 25 1/4. So I'm just gonna put it in the back here because the front dimension is important to me. So I guess I'll go ahead and put some glue first on here, and because I'm really depending on the glue to hold this thing, fasten it together really well. And since this is 1 inch thick, I'm going back to the 2.5 inch screws to fasten this in place. Now I'm going to put the glue on the other side before I fasten this one to the back plate. And I'm just gonna put that little extra piece behind it so I can get the same spacing, and I'm gonna slide this underneath. Maybe it was not the best way to do it, but I'm just gonna have to get it done. Okay, we're gonna fasten this one also to the rail. And one last one. Okay. This is done. So now the main frame is done. And just going back to check it to see how close I am. Here is 7 1/4. Here is 7 3/8. Back here is 7 1/4. And same thing in the bottom. So now the important dimension really is for this hinge to go in the back here, and it is the perfect size in the back. And in the next video we're gonna mount this to the back of the machine and to a plate that would carry our machine. I just about had enough for one day, so as I mentioned, the next video, hopefully tomorrow, I'll publish it, try to finish the rest of the card. Thank you very much for watching, and we'll see you next time.